Somehow, my daughters fell in love with Formula One. I don't know how or why, but I'm not arguing. They may not know wheel, but does anyone?
I'm Grace.
And I'm Anne.
We're two sisters who got obsessed with Formula One and decided to make a podcast to force all our friends and family to listen to us talk about Formula One. Welcome to We Don't Know Wheel.
And joke's on you today because I'm not Anne. You have been duped.
It's a different
You
sister.
got Sarah today.
We're very excited. Although it's ironic. I don't know if it's ironic. It's sad that the biggest Checo fan is not here for a Checo win.
Yeah, we got a big text yesterday. Yesterday. From Miss Anne. She was very psyched about the race results.
Yes, very excited.
Actually, she called it on Saturday.
Did she?
Yeah, after qualifying, she was like, Checo's going to win tomorrow. And she was right. So
I do love I love Checo winning, even if it's Red Bull. I'm happy for him.
At a street circuit.
As Sarah and I both said, is this really a street circuit?
More on that later.
We need Anne here to actually bring an educated view to what's happening, but I tried to do some basic searching on this. And it appears it is a street circuit, but it's kind of a street that's for fun.
It's a street adjacent circuit.
This is no Baku.
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy it personally, but everybody has their own definition of street, road, avenue. What is any of it?
It was only made very recently. But yeah, it just doesn't even look like streets.
This is the second year, right?
I think that you're correct.
Saudi Arabia?
Yes, and I
read that. And I'm going to just pretend that the things I say are facts today.
Yeah, we love it. Let's get into let's start off on the tip. Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Why are we racing here still? Ever?
Why do you think, Sarah?
Money.
Money.
I mean, truly though, I feel like people were talking about this last year with the World Cup. The World Cup was in Qatar, and there were huge questions about that. Players protested,
and it's an interesting.
Formula One is still choosing to be in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, not shocking because it's literally oil.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Oh, okay. Cars, I had to go look this up. This really has cars, oil. Have you heard about it? They go together. I had to go look this up because, and I don't know, this is a deep dive by me that didn't go much of anywhere, but
yeah.
So alcohol is illegal in Saudi Arabia. So not a human rights issue. Saudi Arabia has a lot of other human rights issues. Not the no alcohol.
Along with the no alcohol issue.
Along with the no alcohol issue.
Really, we are talking about the hard-hitting issues
We're
today.
Getting into it. But I did notice that, Fred Vasseur, he had his little Estrella Galicia patch. It was whited out.
Oh, that's interesting. So maybe the alcohol sponsors couldn't be advertised at this race?
That's what they're not even allowed to use champagne at this race for the celebration. They use sticky, sugary pink
disgusting
water.
Gatorade.
But it's also interesting because Estrella Galicia, the one that Ferrari and Sainz rep, it's a 0% beer that he reps. It's specifically yes, go look it up. Carlos Sainz is sponsored by Estrella Galicia 0.0.
It's an NA beer.
It's an NA beer.
But it has the essence of beer. It has the implication of alcohol.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
It
That's
definitely has
really
implications,
interesting.
which does get into an interesting side. Like they're still allowed to have like the bottles that look like champagne when they're on
Oh,
the
interesting.
podium.
But there's no champagne in it.
There's
It's
no
a fake
champagne in
substance.
them.
It's a GMO.
It's a GMO. It's a GMO.
It's a lab created situation.
Yeah, that part's really not important. I don't know why I'm
No.
like delving into that because it really matters zero.
I mean, it is interesting. There's a lot of nuance around this race, right? It feels like
Yeah.
things are being tiptoed around.
Yeah.
And on a more important note, this is the first season that the FIA is like really cracking down on players making or drivers making political statements.
Yes.
And there
Hamilton
was
still
not a
has
peep.
Hamilton has his rainbow helmet. We
Okay.
stan. And I think maybe he's getting away with that by just being like, this is my everyday helmet.
Well, I mean, maybe that was like FIA approved. Is it grandfathered in? I don't know.
I don't know. But I sent Sarah some pictures of Lewis's, was that his Thursday outfit? It was very like the black. He was wearing this like tunic with like a wide like pant and like
yeah,
platforms. It was,
if I'm being honest, very like Star Wars.
it was giving Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren. On the runway.
It was giving Kylo Ren because Kylo Ren's like cowl is like very fashion. It's fashion.
Wave, a broad shoulder.
Because it was
That's all
cut
I'm
in
gonna
like a triangle-y shape, and it
Yeah.
was very like
Yeah.
structured.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it felt very like, this was me reaching, but I was like, is he wearing? It felt on the edge of feminine, and I know that there are laws in Saudi Arabia that prevent trans folks from like wearing their gender affirming clothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this like a subtle? Is this like, no one can really call me out on this because what is
let's
it?
say it is, because I live for it. I mean,
Yeah, I think
this is why I will always be a fan of Lewis Hamilton, because he pushes the boxes and he's not afraid to be political. And just always a fan, you know?
Yeah.
He's saying the things that other drivers don't want to say.
We need more.
Yeah,
we need more of that.
Absolutely. There should be more room for that in this sport.
Yeah.
Because just, historically, it's been like all one note a lot of the time. Well, you know what? I might take that back because I know very little about the history of F1. We could call in an expert maybe down the line, but
I'm trying to
nice to see.
I'm trying to rack my brain to be like, when has F1 gotten really political?
I don't know.
But the people who I think of, like, okay, recently I sent Sarah a whole thing about Jacques Villeneuve. Is that how you say his name?
Villeneuve, I think.
Villeneuve.
I don't know. He's
Canadian. He was kind of like the punk, right? He was kind of
French Canadian.
Yeah. He was always like bleaching his hair and wearing punk clothes and being really like a little grungy, which I was like, Sarah would love it. And then I went and read up on him and he's like named in the Panama Papers. And I was like, not so cool.
Yeah. I mean,
it feels very difficult to be making that much money and be doing anything radical. Let's be honest.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And a lot of the drivers come from like a ultra privileged background.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's hard to like maybe see the things happening in the world around them. They're uber focused on just driving. Mm-hmm. Like that's their entire life and has been for many, many years, decades for some of them. So it's understandable. But it's always lovely to see somebody who's like making a few waves.
Yeah. And I think it's like the sport, at least to me, like a lot of my enjoyment of the sport comes from the like the social aspects of it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I like watching them drive around in their little circles, but I'm really intrigued by the like interpersonal workings and the like social side. And obviously, like many people are, because Drive to Survive wouldn't be successful if people weren't interested in that. But beyond that, like there's always been rumors about the drama of the Formula One drivers. And
Yeah.
so like people are interested in their lives
Yeah.
and what they think and do.
Yeah. Okay, on just one last tiny political note before we move on and actually talk about the race, because we haven't talked about this, you and I, but this whole Haas automation selling machinery
Haas
to
has another
Russia.
Russia drama.
I know, and the memes of Gunther being like, never another Russian. This is the last Russian I will ever deal with before I leave this planet. Which, to be fair, it seems like
it's not
very
Gunther.
disconnected from
It's
Formula
Gene.
One. It's Gene Haas. It's like their parent company that is just a machining company.
But they're literally
But
selling
shocking.
like, if I understand this correctly, allegedly they are selling items that can be used in the creation of like weapons
to
Russia.
Well, my understanding was like, highly machined parts, but also like CNC machines, like really precise CNC machines.
You're gonna have to dig into that because I don't know what CNC
I'm gonna have to dig
means.
into it. Yeah, but yeah, I know.
What does CNC mean,
Anne
Sarah?
sent us that. I was totally shocked. Computer something.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I didn't know if that was like a design thing you knew.
You plug, it's a machine where you lay a material like on a bed basically, and then you plug in a design file, and then it cuts it out exactly to your specifications.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like really precision manufacturing, like computerized manufacturing. And it sounds like Haas has like next level precision instruments, which makes sense that they would want to be used for weapons, I guess. Selling your machines to the medicine world, I don't know, like find a better industry.
Well, it is interesting because I also am like, Haas is constantly like, we buy all our stuff from other people because it's cheaper, which I guess like then they don't have to design it. But it is really interesting that they have like the capabilities.
Literally a manufacturing company.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, again, we get into the like politics of it all where it's like, I don't know, I was reading through like lists of sponsors of the teams this week. Oh yeah, because then I was trying to dig into like, well, is it just that Estrella Galicia has maybe like dropped Ferrari as a sponsor? But that seemed crazy because they've been sponsoring Carlos for like a decade. And I think that it was just like the alcohol sponsors had to be covered up, because also I think that Heineken maybe sponsors like F1 and they sponsor it with a 0.0 beer as well.
That is interesting. Maybe that's an F1 thing.
I don't think it is, but I did well, because I was like looking into this and I was like, this is all so interesting. And when I was like reading up about Daniel's wine and Valtteri's gin, and I think actually there's like a huge market for 0.0 beer in a lot of Europe because you can't drink and drive at all. So people want the feeling of like having a beer when they go out with friends, but no alcohol in it.
You can't drink and drive there? What a joke.
It's not like America.
No roadies for them.
But there's like a much lower tolerance level on you can't have a drink and then drive
but
home.
Also, like, who drives in Europe? Sorry. That's all I'm going to say. No one's driving over there. They all are just taking public transportation.
I'm just telling you what the internet told me and I believed.
Awesome. Love.
Okay, give me your hot takes on the race. Unless, wait, did
sorry,
you
on
want
this
to go?
race. I took notes
Oh my
on my
gosh.
little notepad.
Sarah and I
Okay.
called each other and talked each other through this race.
I almost wish we hadn't, because now I feel like we might have less to talk about.
I think we'll be
LOL.
good.
Like that could ever be possible. Okay. Little tidbit I heard on the front end. This was Aston Martin's first front row start in 63 years. That's longer than our father has been alive.
Okay. Has Aston Martin been on the grid that long? That's a big question that I'm having.
And I don't care. I love a dramatic stat, you know? And way to go, Aston Martin. Way to go, Fernando. Fernando is the rising star.
Okay. They were
on the grid.
Okay, Sarah. To just give you
like
a tiny to give you a tiny bit of information on this.
Okay.
They have been off the grid for 61 years.
Okay, so I'm gonna call out the British news guy that was commentating that said that, because that was like maybe true, but very, misleading information.
Yes, highly misleading.
But, I'm happy for that team.
Yeah.
Okay, remind me, is that Renault and Aston Martin bought them? Oh, that's Alpine.
Yeah. Alpine and Renault are the same.
Teams confused, honestly.
There are a lot. AlphaTauri.
Okay, Aston Martin, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to see Lawrence Stroll's hard-earned money finally going to good use. I'm going to say it.
That's true. I'm in total agreement.
Invested a lot.
It's kind of incredible. Like, it's very incredible to even think about the team from like last year to this year and how like, whoa.
Okay, and was there some sort of like under the table knowledge that they were giving Fernando? Because honestly, when Fernando announced this move, I was like totally perplexed, because he was on a team that was doing way better than Aston Martin last year.
Yeah. Well, Lawrence, not
Lawrence.
his son. Lawrence has definitely been going around since he bought Aston Martin saying like, this team will be championship winning in the next 5 years. And that's my plan. And he supposedly very strategically purchased them because he knew they were about to implement the cost cap for all the teams. And he was like, that's going to allow us to be competitive with the other teams. And Aston Martin used to be Force India.
Okay, yeah.
Which was always known as being like a very scrappy but fast team that did a lot with a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I also like, Anne and I were talking on the phone the other day, and I do feel like it certainly seems like it's easier to scale up and become successful than it is to scale down and maintain success. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
Mercedes. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally believe that, because I think Red Bull, while they clearly have a lot of money and have for a while, they didn't have, it doesn't seem to me that they were on that same like exorbitant level as like Mercedes, Ferrari.
Yeah.
Like maybe even like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And they do kind of have the reputation of like a very scrappy team.
Mm-hmm.
So
they haven't been around that long.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So
I guess neither has Mercedes, but
whatever. Yeah, I think the scrappier teams that started small are figuring out how to do more with the money that they're allowed, and the big teams are struggling to scale back, I think.
Yeah.
We're seeing it with Ferrari, and we're seeing it with Mercedes. Let's say
I think Ferrari's just Ferrarying. I don't think they're hot take.
Papa Fred was not happy.
Okay, yeah. Tell me what you thought of that, because that was like painful to watch.
What I thought of what? The Ferrari's race?
Their race? and then about what Fred said and everything. Give me all your Ferrari insight.
I don't even know. I'm checked out from Ferrari, honestly. The race was like totally average. Like there was just nothing interesting happening at Ferrari.
Ferrari was right back where they were at the end of last season, where they were literally just like two cars in the middle. The like midfield was well behind them, but then the competitors at the front were well ahead of them. And it's like, are we back in this? And it's literally just Charles and Carlos just zooming along together.
And then Charles just complaining about being stuck 2.5 seconds behind Carlos. I'll never understand.
The Charles girlies will forever be sane. I don't want to get on their bad side.
We're going to hear about it. We're going to hear about this from your fans.
Don't talk to me about it. This is a Carlos apologist podcast, and I'm truly someone who loves pain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched that little video you sent me. Charles spoke only in Italian, didn't catch anything, but they seemed really bummed.
She's talking about like how Ferrari always makes its drivers be like, this is what happened during the race today. Sorry it wasn't better. We're going to do better next time.
I think every team does it. I remember last year, I'm a big Danny Rick fan. Last year, McLaren would do this every week, and it was painful. Worse than the Ferrari one, because Daniel was like finishing in 18th, and he'd be like, yeah, guys, another rough one. So sorry. It's like, just let the man go take a nap, you know?
Let him take a nap.
Let him just drown his sorrows in some 0.0% alcohol beer.
Yeah. Well, okay,
anyway.
That brings us to Lando Norris. What is going on? Why do I have him on my fantasy team? Huge mistake, but I can't let him go, but I'm thinking about it.
Why can't you let him go?
I don't know. I'm loyal to Carlos, so I have to be loyal to Lando.
I do not understand it, but okay. I have a theory that Lando is not ready to be the leader of a team. Love you, Lando. I think he misses having Daniel there as like a little punching bag. Ooh. And I know that sounded harsh. Okay. Not as a punching bag, but like as the weaker link, perhaps. And now there's like a lot of pressure on Lando to deliver, and Oscar is pretty good. I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
But also the car sucks. So
yeah, the car's
maybe
terrible.
That's what it is.
The car is definitely terrible. I thought it was like, I saw some hot takes after qualifying where people were like, how is Lando qualifying? Did he qualify 20th, 15th? Not good.
He crashed.
He did crash, but they were like, how did he qualify so low? And it's like, he crashed.
That was me saying, how did he qualify so low? And it was you saying he crashed.
No, it was on Tumblr that I saw this. It was on Tumblr, and I was like, he crashed. He couldn't qualify higher. His car was out.
Handle the pressure.
Yeah, he couldn't handle the pressure. I don't know what's going on with him. He's not in a good headspace. No.
Yeah. No, I think it's true.
Sarah's like, it's the pressure of being the team leader.
No, okay. Here's what it really is. He is spiraling because he realizes he has how many more years at this team? 3 more years at this team. That is a sinking ship. Jack Brown thinks he's his father. He's like, my son, Lando, but his team sucks. And Daniel's not even there to make it fun anymore.
No.
This is all conjecture, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, and Oscar's there like a young, just like hungry, like, I'm just happy to be here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Absolutely clueless.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like Lando seems very similar in his interviews. Like in his interviews, he's the same, just like very straight shooter, doesn't like pull any punches.
I heard him and Oscar were throwing literal punches.
Stop. Okay, that's the real Ferrari that I want to get into, which is my favorite drama of the week. That's a new segment.
Fantasy
Favorite drama of
Ferrari.
the tree. favorite drama of the week. Was it on Twitter or Instagram? There was like a post going around like Charles and Carlos came to blows in Maranello this week, and they physically fought each other.
Funny.
It was so obviously fake.
I hope someone's making money on it. I mean,
how would you make money
just have
on
to
it?
hope. I don't know. I
Ferrari's
just hope
making
they
money
are.
on it.
Yeah, true.
Because then it felt like the Ferrari PR machine was like, you guys need to kiss each other. Like,
oh my gosh.
There
Yeah.
was a lot of like love.
Let's just
But
say
then
they gave the girls what they wanted, I guess. I don't know.
They got him on that couch and they said, draw me like one of your French ladies. Is that what he says?
Yeah.
French girls.
Oh my gosh. Grace made an epic Ferrari meme this week. It's a Pride and Prejudice Ferrari mashup. If you want to see it, I recommend checking out the We Don't Know Wheel Instagram account.
Please follow us.
She's gonna post it because I just told her to.
Yeah, it's on there.
Oh, it's on there. Yes, thank you. I forgot. It's on there.
It's on
Hilarious.
there, guys. Do not worry.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Hilarious, I think. But yeah, like the fact that they went so hard to be like, no, our drivers are such good friends. But then still in the car, Charles was like, Carlos is going so freaking slow. It was like, then pass him. What do you
It does really blow my mind, like how different it can seem on and off track. I think they must be really like compartmentalized.
I think you're right. But
because,
also, yeah.
I don't know. They just get so feisty. Like the McLaren boys were fighting.
Oh, yeah.
The Ferrari boys were fighting. Everybody was racing their teammates this week.
Yes. And what did you think? I think George, was it George who said something, or Hamilton, or both of them? They were both complaining about each other. And then there was the whole like Max and Checo, like who will take the fastest lap. And then
oh my gosh.
Did you see the whole like thing with Yost and how he was like standing, not hugging? I was like, oh my goodness.
It was a little embarrassing. But I guess it's just who Yost is. I don't know. It's dark. This is Max's father. Speaking of, let's talk about, well, Max Verstappen qualified 15th. That's all that needs to be said. I don't really care.
Okay. Yeah. Tell us what's on the notes.
The man jumped a million cars and he finished in second place. Congrats to him. Screwing over my fantasy league because that was a lot of
I was literally just talking to Jamie about this because I was like, her team is at the top of the standings now. And I was like, who's on your team? And she was like, oh, Max. And I was like, you have a Max on your team? Who puts Max on their fantasy team?
I know. I'm like, no Max. Max is like a cheat code. I'm not interested.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get there the
hardworking, old-fashioned Spanish way.
Yes.
I have Fernando.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh man. But yeah, overall, it was like an okay race. I would give it like, I don't know, a 6 out of 10 for interesting points. It was really fun to see Checo and Fernando at the front for at least the beginning parts of the race. Max quickly caught up, but you know, both lovely Spanish-speaking boys were a fan, and they've both been on the grid a long time. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know offhand how long Checo has been in Formula One,
Been a
but
long
it's longer
time.
than a lot of the other
Yeah.
drivers
Yeah.
on the grid. And he's been in like low level teams for much of that time. And now is at Red Bull as like very clearly their number 2 driver. So it's just fun to see him at the front. I feel like him and Fernando really earned this one. They put in a lot of time, so it's fun to see them up there. They're also both like very scrappy drivers.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah.
What do you think about seeing Fernando lose his podium and then get it right back?
Honestly, Grace. Okay. The race finished and I had plans, so I just immediately turned it off. I didn't even see all that. I had to like read about it this morning, I think. It's interesting. I was shocked that they gave him a 10-second penalty for not serving his penalty correctly.
But
Like,
that's
if
what they did
anything,
to
just give him
Esteban,
the
I think.
5-second penalty, you would keep the podium, right?
Yes, he would have. But
Okay.
so
They wanted to take it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The FIA is wild.
I don't know. It seems like, okay, the 5-second penalty was for being outside of his starting box, whatever. And then when he served the penalty, apparently somebody on his team like touched his car.
Touched his car with the rear jack.
So they started changing his tire.
No, they just touched it and then they like untouched it. And so that's how Aston Martin argued that they should get rid of that penalty, because they were like, here are 5 examples of when this has happened in the past and nothing has been done about it.
I love that they're using primary sources. They're building an argument. Like, this is how you do it. You bring receipts.
This is Daddy Warbucks's money. This is Daddy Stroll's money, being like, I have the best lawyers in Formula One and I'm ready to fight your penalties.
I mean, good on them. I think Fernando deserves the podium. He served a 5-second penalty. Let's just say it. Let's call it like it is. He served it, you know?
Yes. My favorite moments from that were George being like, he still has to serve that 5-second penalty, right? And is the race engineer being
we just
like,
have to be within 5 seconds, right? I don't have to get any closer.
He was like, he's already served it. And George was like, oh no.
Then why have I been driving so slow?
Incredible. But also I loved, like, after so Fernando went up and did the podium ceremony, got sprayed with champagne, did the interviews, and then they were like, actually there's a 10-second penalty, so he's lost that, and now George has it. And they asked Fernando what he thought about it, and he was like, I don't care. I went up on the podium. I wore my branded merchandise. I've been on the television. What else am I
got the photos.
Yes. And I was like, that's what I like about Fernando, because that's like the most honest assessment of Formula One. Like, it really doesn't matter if he won the podium or like if he really got the podium or not. He got to stand up on the podium on live broadcast with all of his sponsors on his body.
That is interesting. And yeah, once again, it's truly all about the money in this game. Yeah. I mean, he's got a point.
He's got a point. No, but
and
I was
he
like,
got to have the fun. Like, who wants to get a penalty? I mean, no, excuse me. Who wants to get a podium?
Yeah.
After the fun has already been had.
Yeah. Poor George just got to like
a couple more points.
Yeah. George gets to briefly walk around with what is that called?
Trophy?
A trophy. Thank you. I want to call it a statue.
With the Oscar.
He got the Oscar very briefly, where he kept graciously being like, Fernando really deserved this, but I'll take the points. And then they were like, Fernando actually really did deserve it.
Eyelashes. I'm not wearing mascara.
I'm not wearing mascara.
I love George. I'm a big fan.
George is such a nut.
No shade, George. I'm a fan.
I also love, like when he was like, he still has to serve that penalty, right? It was not a quick message. It was like he was having a chat with his race engineer. And I was like,
Yeah.
nobody else talks with their race engineers like this.
Everyone else is like, please shut up and let me drive. That's
Yes.
Charles. Charles? Okay. I do think the like on I want to say on stage, off stage, but that's not the right terms for it. It's like in car, out of car, but it's kind of on stage, off
Yes.
stage.
No, it's so
The
true.
personality shifts are wild.
Oh, compartmentalized, baby. Yeah, because he's
Oh my
all about being
gosh.
like this, I'm like, just a little kind prince from Monaco. And then he gets in the car and he's like, what's the name of his race engineer? Ravi?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Whoops. Call me out on it, guys. Send me in the name. But he's like, you gotta tell me this stuff. And yeah, he just really gets feisty.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets so angry because he's not letting it come out when he actually feels it. And he should go to therapy, just like the rest of us. No.
I mean, you might be touching on something there. And that's what we call sports. Our issues with sports.
Sports.
No, but maybe a little. Yeah, okay. Who did you vote for driver of the day?
Oh, I really, I pulled a classic Grace. I voted for Yuki because I was so excited for him to get a point. And then he was quickly overtaken.
On what, lap 40, 45, and then he passed on lap 47.
Yuki, what the heck?
I know. He had a good drive for most of the day, though. I also voted for Yuki.
I can't believe
we
Max
were on the same
won.
page. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was excited for him to get a point. He was just having a really good drive. He was passing people.
Yeah.
I don't know why we were really hopping on the Yuki train.
I feel like no, it takes time to get to grips with like a Formula One car and all of that. But it is quite surprising that Nick DeVries, I feel like Yuki's actually outperforming him a bit right now.
Yeah, I would have to agree. We'll see if it changes over time.
Yeah, because there is
super early days.
Yeah, it's early days. It's early days, mate.
Yeah. But it would be nice. It would be, I don't know, fun to see Yuki like come into a leadership role on the team.
Yes.
I think he can handle it. Also, he was driving like right next to Pierre for a while, which was cute.
That is cute. It is, not to get back right into Lando, but it is a little bit shocking to me that he's not doing better.
I don't know. Only time will tell. Like, I think, honestly, as much as I like to talk up the inner workings of Lando, I think this car is an absolute mess. Like, that's what I think is going on.
I think you're right.
Story. Yeah. So I feel bad for Lando. I'm sorry to that man.
I guess at least like on the one hand you feel bad for him, but then on the other hand you're like, he's definitely getting paid a lot more than the guys at Haas.
Yes, which is why you should take him off your Formula One team.
I have plenty of money in my budget. I have plenty of money. Jamie has maxed her budget. She maxed out her entire budget. So I'm like,
what's the problem with that?
I know that's what you should be doing. I'm an idiot.
Okay. Well, I think that's all my notes for this race. Overall, it was a fun race.
Yeah.
More fun because we were on the phone while it was happening.
I agree. I thought it was quite a fun race. I think there's certainly bigger discussions to be had about like where these races happen, why we're building new tracks, like when there are older tracks.
Yeah, Grace and I both commented on the sign by the winners interview, net zero. It's like F1 net zero 2030 or something.
Yeah.
Which is a great goal.
Mm-hmm.
they seem to be making absolutely zero progress towards this. Like, from what I can tell, there's being no indication that any adjustments are being made.
Maybe they're just like, we're going to be able to pay for carbon offsets.
We're going to use only compostable
toilets. We're getting into sustainable agriculture, and you're going to have
real toilets. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's a lot to be. I would love to know more about it. Maybe we should become a sustainability Formula One podcast.
I mean,
I don't think I know enough about true sustainability.
I don't think I do either, but yeah, it is interesting, and I'm sure they have people behind the scenes that are working on it. God, I hope they do.
Yeah, it definitely gives the vibes of like people being like, I'm buying all this reusable stuff to be sustainable. And you're like, you're creating more trash right now. You should use what you have until it's gone.
Yeah.
I'm replacing everything in my house. And you're like, don't do that, babe.
I'm throwing it all away. It's all going in the dumpster. I don't need that.
I don't need plastic anymore.
Yeah. F1 is throwing away all their plastic. They're getting
no more single-use plastics. Well, yeah, they're always drinking out of those paper water bottles. You notice that?
Paper water bottles?
Yeah, they're like little cartons.
Oh, okay. It is silly. They are doing the silly things that we're joking about.
They are.
I think that we're right.
They're like, you cannot bring food or drink to the race, but we will sell it to you in paper instead of plastic now.
Yeah. No, I think it would be interesting to see a real effort being made on this front. Like, what would it look like for I understand that it's like traveling, that's the whole point, but what would it look like for the traveling to like make sense globally?
Okay, I have a hot take on this that I don't think I know enough about, but I did watch one YouTube video on the travel process of Formula One. But one of the things they were saying is that most Formula One teams have, I think, like maybe 3 or 4 sets of like cars and all of the like stuff they need for each, like to set up their motorhome, essentially.
One on each continent.
And so most of them move by ship from like, and it takes a long time. So it'll be like,
that's so interesting.
So I do wonder if part of what's happening is that like, although to us, we're like, they're traveling all over the world, maybe their stuff is staying, and that's the like less travel aspect. That's a guess that I'm making based on one YouTube video I watched.
Good at speaking with authority. Actually, that makes sense. Maybe. I don't know.
If you're thinking about like, because I think a lot of the like fossil fuel is probably from the like moving all the stuff from week to week, but they're actually not moving like the same stuff from one location to the next. I mean, a small amount they are, but a bigger portion is going, like they have multiples of many things, and so they're staying I think in the same like general region.
I mean, I would love to just see a breakdown of all the fossil fuel consumption.
I know. They're like, we only use electric.
Like, where is it going? Where are they really, really bad? Because it probably is something unexpected, like
catering. LOL. That's definitely like why Mercedes is struggling, is my impression, is like they're like a bloated whale, you know, like they don't know how to slim down and funnel their money into development.
No arguments here. No arguments. Toto,
you better get it together. I mean, what's he gonna do? He's as in as much trouble as Hamilton's in. Hot take.
Hot take. Yeah. At least one of the wolves is doing something interesting. I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what Susie does.
I'm very excited, and I really want to go to one of these Formula Academy. Are they races? Are they?
I think they're races. Yeah.
Okay. I want to go. I think they're
don't
doing one in
know.
Austin.
Are they doing? I was going to ask
Yeah.
if they were doing any in America.
They are. Because I
Are
looked
they
it up
doing
because I was
them?
like, I want to go.
Does their schedule follow the F1 schedule at all? Is it totally different? Do you know
I
anything?
feel like it was like a similar time. Let me look it up. I know this is bad podcasting.
Yeah, because I would also love to go. I think Susie's the exact right person for the job. I'm very excited for her and hopeful, cautiously optimistic, as our good man Gunther would say. I'm cautiously optimistic that there are some real results from this and that some female talent is like truly, you know, nurtured and appreciated.
Yeah.
And we get to like have some household female driver names. Come on.
Would love it. They're driving in Austin in October the 20th through the 22nd, which feels like the same time as the Formula One race,
I think
or like
they're
very
usually
similar.
in Austin in October, so maybe it's like one of the surrounding weekends.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of rad.
That's great.
Yeah. Seems like it'll be really cool. It's just good to get people in the car.
Yes. I couldn't agree more.
So, well, let's see. Any other hot goss that you've heard of this week? Let's give our last thoughts. I'm going to tell you what I've been seeing on Tumblr these days.
Last thought is that I finally started reading Carlos fanfic that you sent me like 2 weeks ago. It is funny.
That's some of the best fanfic I've ever read. I'm like, this person should be a published author.
I mean, the writing is like shockingly good.
Shockingly good.
Shockingly good, yeah.
Shockingly good.
So that's the only thing that's kind of on my plate over here. Catching up on my reading.
Catching up on my reading. Yeah.
I just really want to read more.
I need to get some more reading in. Yeah, I think my favorite thing from the internet this week was probably just the whole like Carlos Charles physical fight rumors.
Oh my gosh.
It was so blatant. And I love like all the Tumblr girlies are like, who should we say it about next?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Which PR person is so on the internet, like chronically online, that they're like, people are saying that our drivers are fighting. Also, like, what a delight that it's become so important in Formula One that your drivers love each other and are like quite close.
Yeah. It is interesting because it seems like in the past, teams were not afraid to have drivers like openly feuding, basically.
It does seem like it depends which team, because I think another thing I saw on the internet this week was a whole thing about Seb and Charles, and the PR person at Ferrari at the time being like, there's another article saying you guys don't like each other, so be super friendly this week. We know you love each other. You can kiss if you want to. I was like, wait, what?
We all know you love each other.
We know. Just make sure the world knows.
Yeah. Lay it on thick this week, you guys. It does. They must be saying that to them sometimes, because
they were definitely
I just can't
saying
get
it to
over
them this week.
They're
matching outfits.
Difference. Yeah.
I loved the matching outfits. I loved it all.
The matching out. Oh my gosh.
Really good. I only wish I could dress to match the person that I'm going out with in that way.
I mean, you could.
I know, but I don't think I would look as good as Charles and Carlos.
Okay, there we go. There it is.
And there's the truth. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, another fun week.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll
Anytime.
yeah. The pod will be back for the next race.
Which is no idea.
Oh, it's Australia. Come on, Sarah.
I thought Australia. Yes, of course.
the Australia.
It's in the name of the podcast, guys. We don't know wheel.
We do not know wheel. We are desperately trying our best. I'm not sure if it's in a week or 2 weeks or.
I think it's in 2, but I don't
think
know.
You're right.
2 would make sense to me. But yeah, I had a wonderful time, and it was fun filling in for Anne. I'm sure everybody missed her.
2 weeks, Australia. We'll see you all there. Like, subscribe, follow. We're on Instagram. We don't know Wheel F1. We're on Tumblr. If you want to get on Tumblr, again, we don't know Wheel F1.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube, sort of.
Sort of, but don't go there. Just listen on like Spotify, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere you get your podcast.
Anywhere you get your podcast. Tell your friends if you enjoy it. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Leave a review.
Yeah.
Would
but
be fun.
Only kind reviews, please,
if
people.
You have something, if you don't enjoy the podcast, keep it to yourself.
Start your own podcast to talk about how much you don't like this podcast.
It's harder than it looks, okay? If you like the podcast, leave a review.
Please leave a review. Okay. We love you all. Have a good night.
Bye.